First up this morning, we have Stephanie Lewis with ECI Software Solutions. Stephanie's presentation is how to leverage the power of Accelerate to drive growth. This is going to be a two-part session. The first part, Stephanie will show you how to partner with dealers to drive growth by using analytics and CRM solution. This will include leveraging dealers' data to identify new opportunities and extracting data to create a successful marketing campaign. Once she's shown us all of these wonderful ways to mine for data, we're going to bring up a panel of some expert dealers to share with us some successful campaigns they've created. So let's welcome Stephanie to the stage.
Is this thing working? Can you guys hear me? There we go. Thank you. Good morning. I see a lot of familiar faces. I'm usually at the ECI booth, and so I see you on the showroom floor, right? So thank you for being here, and thank you for the invitation to be here. I've been talking with these folks this morning. I work from home, and so this is a real fun opportunity for me to get out and talk to a whole different crowd. Usually talking to the dealers, right? That's what we're here to talk about today. So a little background I wanted to share about myself, and there's a reason I'm going here. I've been with ECI Accelerate a little over 9 years, and prior to that, I was an outside sales rep for 2 different office products dealers in Ohio. I worked with Friends, Business Source, some of you might be familiar with them, in Findlay. And then I worked for Today's Business, which was in Cleveland, which is where I currently live. So I had about 13 years of experience there, and one day, while I was still at Today's, I got a call from my good friend Amy Brown. I think a lot of you probably know Amy. And she said, Steph, I'm working for this company called Accelerate, and we don't have a training program, and I'd love for you to help me build that. So I said, I'm on. So I went and we built it, and so 9 years later, I'm real proud to say that we offer your customers or our dealers over 20 live classes every month. So your customers have 20 live classes they can join us for. We have a recorded video library that they can actually access in the application, which we're going to look at in just a bit. There's 50 recorded videos that they can access. Yep. And we, of course, do tons of one-on-one sessions through like GoToMeeting with dealers as well when they ask for help, which is one of the things that I really want to talk to you about today. I have a team of 4, which is going to be a team of 3 tomorrow because my youngest trainer is actually having her first baby tomorrow. But we proactively reach out to these dealers on a quarterly basis, your customers, and try to engage them, right? Try to drive utilization and help them understand just what they've got. And we don't get a lot of response. So it's frustrating, but we keep at it because that's what we do. And so as you're talking to dealers, right, when you're in there meeting with them, remind them just what they've got with Accelerate and have them reach out to us. We're happy to set up training sessions and help them however we can. Okay? So I didn't mean to give you any homework. I'm going to be standing for just a minute, and then I'm going to be sitting because I want to go into the application and show you exactly what is Accelerate. So speaking of which, Accelerate is the industry-leading sales intelligence and CRM solution for office products. Now, we don't train just office products dealers or don't integrate just with office products dealers. We also integrate with an ERP called Team Design, which is for furniture dealers. And we also have a most recent integration with something called eAutomate, which is another ECI platform for machine dealers. But I know we're talking mainly to office products folks today. Sales intelligence provides important and insightful information to dealers about their business, performance, and profitability. All important stuff, right? We measure multiple KPIs and allows the dealer to quickly understand their sales and margin trends. And then lastly, we have an integrated CRM, which we'll look at, which empowers the dealer to use the analytic data to drive marketing initiatives. And I know that's what a lot of you in this room are really looking forward to today, right? How can we help them understand what they've got as it relates to data, right? What are they selling of my stuff so that we can target market those folks, right? Is that what you guys are looking for, hopefully? All right, so who utilizes Accelerate? Well, as of this spring, every ECI distribution dealer has Accelerate. That's a lot of dealers, guys. And that includes ECI ERPs, which is DDMS, DDMS Plus, Britannia, Red Falcon, and then that Team Design, which of course are those furniture dealers. Now, dealers who aren't on the ECI ERPs, they can still purchase and leverage the power of Accelerate as well. So, as it relates to this group, how can this help you build a stronger relationship with your customer? Well, I'm about to show you how easy it is for your customer to be able to find the data that can easily tell them, which is going to tell you what they're selling of your product, to which customers, and know what categories of your product they're selling. There's probably some of you in this room that didn't know that they could do that. Well, we're going to teach you how to do it. So, 4 things I want to cover today, and I'm going to try and keep this as high level as I can. General navigation of the application. I'm sure there's probably a lot of you in here that either A, haven't even heard of Accelerate before, you've heard of it, but you don't really know what it is and you've never seen it. So we're going to do just kind of a real quick high level overview of what's called the dashboard. We're going to look at a couple of reports, right? How does the dealer pull that information to provide you to put those marketing campaigns into play? We've got these things called alerts, very powerful. We'll talk about that, and then we'll move into the CRM. The CRM is what's going to allow the dealer to take those lists of customers that they've pulled based on the analytics and do the targeted marketing campaign. Okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and sit down here, and I'm going to pull up my dashboard. I'm a little different today than everybody else. This is more instructional, so bear with me. All right. We good? So this is the Accelerate dashboard. This is the analytics side of the application. I know my friends Chip and Wendy are here, and I'm sure they're very familiar with this dashboard. So this is like I said, the analytics side of the application. So this is where the dealer can very easily navigate and drill into whatever type of data that they're looking for related to their business and their customers. They have the ability to look at the data not only at a high level, right, that 10,000-foot view at the company level, but they also can drill into specific customers to look at their specific purchases. They can look at their sales reps and see how the territory is performing. So it's a web-based application, which means any place that they can get the internet, they can get to this application, right? At home on the weekends, in the coffee shop when they're in between appointments, or from the office. So it's real easy to navigate. Point, click, and drill into it. You'll see that here in just a second. So let's start here in summary statistics. I just kind of wanted to give you a little overview of what's going on here. We're measuring those multiple metrics or statistics for the dealer. This is all based on invoiced data, right? So based on what ERP they're on, we either pull that data overnight or it gets sent to us, but this updates every single night. Okay? And again, we're measuring sales dollars. What percentage of their sales is going through their company's website? They can see their gross profit dollars and GP percentage. They can see their fill rate and returns percentage. So that's just looking at it from a company level, right? From a dealership level. All important things. They also can measure to how they're performing to goal. The dealers can actually, through administration, put their own company goals and sales rep goals in Accelerate so they can truly see how are we performing to those different metrics or statistics. And they can real quickly just drill into a different period of time. So I can still remember when Amy showed me this application, and again, at that point I was in sales, and she showed me that summary statistics section, and I thought, man, I couldn't get to that information, and you now have it on your dashboard right at your fingertips. So, top performers. What's going on here is it's showing the top 100 accounts for the dealership, and it's showing performance, right? It's kind of giving you that, how are my customers performing for me as it relates to gross profit, sales, and GP percentage. And you'll notice there's these little dots here over to the left of the customer name, and that allows them to very quickly drill onto a specific customer's dashboard. So let's say, for example, you're out at a dealership and they say, hey, who's your top account? Well, it's Big Blue Products. Hey, you know what? Let's go take a peek and see what Big Blue's buying of my product. By drilling onto that customer's dashboard, I then can pull a report through filters, which we're going to do in just a second, identify what product of yours that they're buying. The dashboard is real intuitive. That's where we come into play, and that's why I'm going to ask you again, as you're having conversations with your customers, remind them, A, what they've got with Accelerate, and have them reach out to us, because that's what we're here for, is to help them understand how to get what they're looking for, which of course is what you're looking for as well, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my dashboard. In that top performers section, not only can I see how my accounts are performing for a certain period of time, right with the click of a button, but we also have information in here as it relates to the cities that they're selling in and the profitability for each of those. I can look at contracts. This is a real key piece of, again, when I first saw this, I thought, my goodness, because contract management at the dealer level is real hard to understand, hey, here's what I have on these contracts, here's what I'm selling, why is the margin so low? Quickly run a report, use our filters, and we can identify those items that are dragging them down. So great margin management tool. We can see how sales reps are performing. So all of these categories that are in this top performing section allows me to see that just with the click of a button, but it might prompt me to want to run a report. And of course, we can do that off of any of these categories of information. Okay? Down at the bottom under quick views, we're going to come back to alerts here in just a second. It's one of my favorite subjects and it's extremely underutilized, but we're going to come back there. Next up, the dealer can see invoices that were billed out yesterday. Right? They don't need to go into their ERP and pull it. They can look at it right here in Accelerate. It's just going to show who was the customer, what was the total amount of the invoice, and then the supporting details off to the right. But again, if they want to run an invoice history report out of here to see a whole lot more information than this, they can do that. Okay? And then last but not least, we get into reports. All right, and that's where we're going to start today. Because I know you guys are really looking to see, what does Accelerate, what does the dealer have at their fingertips to help, them provide you with the information that they're looking for as far as what product are they selling of yours, right? You guys want to know that, right? What categories they're selling, the line items that they're selling, maybe who they're not selling your product to, because we want to target those folks, and that's what I'm about to show you. So let's go into my Flex report library, and this is one of my favorite reports. It's called the Trend Report. As the name implies, it's just going to show you your customers and how their sales are trending, right? Nothing too crazy here. Now, the cool thing about this report is the dealer can actually include multiple statistics. So if they want to see, and let's say you're going into the dealer and you say, hey, I want to see who your top 50 accounts are, and I want to see of those top 50 accounts what portion of their sales is for my product, right? So we're going to go to filters here in just a second. And if you want to see gross profit dollars or GP percentage, they can do that as well. Now, the other cool thing about Accelerate is we hold 2 full years of data plus current year to date. So if you would go in there and say, hey, can we go back to 2017 and can you tell me how much of my product you sold? They can do that. Easy. Click of a button. But we'll just go ahead and run it so far this year. So we're going to set it for 8 months. Now, in my report builder, there's a thing called filters. And what that allows them to do, your dealer and your customer, is to restrict the data or restrict the results. Okay? Now, this is one of the areas of the application that can be a little tricky, which is, again, why if a customer needs help, they need to reach out to us. We're happy to help them. Once you get the hang of the filters, they're pretty easy. So I'm going to use my product filter here, and I'm going to include a specific manufacturer prefix. All right, so let's go ahead and pick on my friends at Fellows. So let's say we want to see who our top accounts are so far this year with Fellows product. I add my filter, I finish my wizard, and over here in customization, you'll see I've got some options on how I want to show the details. I want to see just those accounts that have bought Fellows product. Okay, we'll go to gaps in both here in just a jiffy. So let's go ahead and run this. And you'll notice that these reports are snappy fast. Now, it's all based on internet speed, right? I'm very thankful that today the internet is good. But what's lining up here are just those accounts that have purchases and sales with Fellows product this year, right? Because that's what I included in this filter. And so you'll see, I can see monthly trends here, right? It's providing you historical data, and it'll give you a recap. So these are my top accounts, right? The dealer's top accounts so far this year in Fellows sales. Okay, so that's kind of that 10,000 foot view. Now let's say you look at this and you go, okay, Big Blue Products there, that's your top account. What categories of my product did they buy? Okay, I can right click over the account name and there's all those categories we looked at when I was back at Top Performers. And so I'm going to go into this option here called Item Group 1. And this is going to show the categories of Fellows product that there are sales in so far this year. Pretty cool, huh? All right, filing and record storage, office machines, technology supplies. Again, it'll give you monthly trends and it'll give you totals. Now, even better, you can say, wow, that's great stuff, but what items did they buy in filing and record storage? Well, we can right-click again and go all the way down to the item level. Now, I know this doesn't necessarily play into the topic today of marketing, but I want you guys to understand the power of this application, and it's not too difficult for your customer to get down all the way to line item level. I know they bought some banker's boxes and they bought a bunch of filing boxes. At any point, they can actually export this information. They can save it back out to their dashboard so they can call it up easily again in the future, the report, and they can email it as well. Okay? Now I'm going to go back to my account list. Now let's talk about marketing. So let's say you want to do a targeted marketing campaign to these customers, right? We know they've purchased Fellows product this year. Well, see that little save all button? That allows me to create what's called a selection list. So the click of one button, I can say, have bought Fellows. So we name the selection list appropriately, and we're going to save it. And we're going to use that list here in just a little bit over on the CRM side. Okay, so I've just created a list of customers. There's probably pages of accounts here with a click of a button. Now, let's say that your campaign should be to those that aren't buying your product. Okay? I can actually run a report by changing the customization from sales to gaps. I'm going to run this thing again. And now these are those customers of your customer that's not buying your product. That's something that you guys would want to do? Focus on people that aren't buying your stuff? Yeah. Again, I can click on Save All. I'm going to say No Fellows Sales, and I'm going to save it. Okay? And then I do have an option to do both. So if I want to include a report and save a selection list of those accounts that are and are not buying, I can do that as well. So real simple, as you can plainly see. I know it's easy for me to say I live in this thing all day, but it is not difficult. We just have to teach the dealer how to go find the data. And once they get the hang of it, which you'll hear in a little while, it really is very simple. Okay? So that's our first example. I know this isn't necessarily related to marketing, but when I talked to Jen before I came over here, we were discussing this report, and she said, Steph, why don't you show them this, because I think this might be of interest. Jen Johnson is who I'm referring to. This is called the Enhanced Business Review. So this is a report that your customer, the dealer, is typically doing with their customer, right? It's kind of a state of the state. How are you doing for us? How are we doing for you? Basically measuring multiple metrics and kind of seeing how we're performing. Well, as it relates to you, the vendor, again, we've got filters. And so we could run this report, the dealer could, and filter in, waiting, there we go. Again, I'm going to go to manufacturer prefix on my product filter. There we go. Let's do this, and let's go with Hewlett-Packard this time. Let's include that as a filter, and let's finish it. Now, there's all kinds of bells and whistles in this report, and I obviously don't have time to do that today, but this is one of the classes, one of those 20 classes that we offer that I was telling you about that your dealers can join us for. It's a 30-minute session. We offer it once a month. Really go through on all the different customization they can do, but let's say we're going to just do this on an annual basis. So this is a report that the dealer could prepare before you come to see them, and this would be just including your product. And I'll show you all these different sections of the report. I think you'll like it. Okay. So for the period, for your product, with this dealership, you can see the period purchases and the period return dollars. We can see how much of those sales of your product at that dealership went through on contract and non-contract. Okay. We have a built-in trend report there, right? For your product as a company, what'd they buy from us each month? And how much got returned, dollars. We then can see, for your product, what was the fill rate on those products and what was the return percentage. Right? Are folks returning a lot of your stuff? And if so, we can run reports and start to find out who and why. Then we get down here into this order summary analysis. This is kind of a cool section. What we've got here are buckets or sizes of orders. We can see the number of orders, the number of lines, and the total dollars ordered inside of each of these buckets. And then it gives you a summary down here, kind of like a recap. So you can see the average lines per order, the average order size. We can also see how your customers' customers are ordering your product, right? We can tell that a majority of our product here in my demo database is coming through what we call regular methods. So phone, fax, email, pick up the phone and call customer service, place the order. We also have some sales going through the customer's website, right? The company website. Then we get down into, told you there's lots of information here. We get into the top items by quantity. So for the period, what did we, the dealer, sell the most of your product? Well, our ink cartridge, the 56AN, 1,300 of them. I can increase that number of items to 50, just FYI. Down here we get into sales, so top items for the period by sales dollars of your product. And then last but not least, we've got this thing called the purchase analysis. So for the dealership, for your product, right, because we included that through the filter, we can see what categories of product they sold and how much. Pretty cool, huh? That's called the business review. It's a great report. Your customers, the dealer, love this report for their customers, so why not utilize it in their relationship with you? I think it's a good one. All right. Alerts. I told you I was going to come back here because it's one of my favorite subjects because people don't use it and it kind of blows my mind. So alerts are different than reports. Reports are static, right? Your customer's got to go in and build the report and run it. Alerts, on the other hand, once they're created by the dealer, they're saved and they update every single night because we're receiving the invoice data, right? And so the alerts will proactively notify the dealer of changing sales trends. The dealer usually uses alerts to identify customers who have stopped buying from them, customers whose sales or margins are trending downward. Why would you not want to be proactively notified that you've got customers that have potentially left you or you've got declining sales and margin? So as it relates to you, the vendor, we can use filters in alerts just like we can with reports. And so I created, in the interest of time, one here. It's called Fellows Sales Are Down 50% for these customers. Okay? Up at the top here, way up at the top, see that tab? This is where the dealer would go in and create the alert. All right? So dealers can actually create the alerts and assign them to themselves, of course. But if you've got customers, if you have dealers who also have sales reps who are using Accelerate as well, they can create these alerts and assign them to the sales rep users. So kind of giving them actionable steps that you want them to take. Hey, you've got customers whose sales are down. I want you to reach out. I want you to find out what's going on. So this is just the alerts detail page that shows them all of their current active alerts. Back out on the dashboard, you've got the name of the alert, you've got the number of results. So this would be the number of their customers whose sales are down for your product 50% in the current period versus the previous period. And they can create that alert and say, hey, I want it to be down this 6 months versus last 6 months or year over year. When they build the alert, they actually can say what time periods do I want to compare. And then over on the right-hand panel, you have your supporting details, which are those customers, right? But what I really like is this little magnifying glass over here to the left of the alert, and it's going to take us to the alert detail page. So again, it just kind of outlines how the alert was written. You've got sales for Fellows product that are down 50%, this 6 months versus the prior 6 months, and then down here you got a little worksheet. So there's all of those customers. Here's their current sales for the period in Fellows product. Here's how much they're down from the previous period in sales. They can drill onto the customer's dashboard right there by clicking that little green face. Take a peek, hey, what were they buying from me? That they aren't buying from me now. And we even give them the ability right there from that little paper icon to actually run a report and drill in to see, hey, what categories are we down in? What items are we down in? So we're making it super easy for them. They just have to create it and look at it. Because again, it's proactively notifying them. Not only will the results be delivered to them on their dashboard, but they can also have it emailed to them. We're trying to make it really easy for them to be alerted to things that are going on with their business. And as it relates to you, sales are down for your product. So like selection lists, alerts automatically save a list. So I've got lists of customers who haven't bought your product. I created that through a selection list in that trend report. I've got a list of accounts that are buying your product. And I have alert list of accounts where sales are down 50% period over period. You might want to market to those folks, right? Okay, that's where we get into the CRM. Up here at the top, let me click on that. So again, it's all part of the application. Honestly, even 9 years in, it still kind of blows my mind because I think back to when I was in the field, when I was in sales, we were a DDMS dealer. I couldn't get to anything in DDMS that would help me sell. We had a CRM. We were on Goldmine, but that sat on my company's server, and I couldn't get to that when I was in the field. These dealers, and if they have their sales reps on Accelerate, they've got all this at their fingertips, you guys. It's a web-based application that they can access here via what I call a desktop version, but we also have a mobile version of Accelerate as well. Right? So from their phone, they can access this information and update things in the field. So a CRM, you guys are all familiar with CRMs, right? Salesforce, Act, Goldmine. That's what this is. Ours just happens to be integrated with their analytic data, which makes it really cool and really powerful. And so over here on the left-hand side, this is kind of the navigation panel. They have a list of all their accounts. It happens automatically. Other CRMs don't give them that, right? That's because we're integrated with their data. And so every single one of their customers has a record here in CRM. And from this list, you'll notice there's a show field up here. You'll notice in this drop-down, I've got a couple of options in order to pull lists of customers that we, meaning you and the dealer, might want to target market to. Okay? And you'll notice that one of the options is alerts. And so when I click on that alert name, fellow sales are down 50%, it's going to generate a list of those accounts. Okay? You're like, well, that's great stuff, but now what do I do? How am I gonna put a marketing plan into play, right? Well, we can't help you with executing the marketing plan, but we can help you get the data, right? We can gather the data. You're going to need to export this list, which I'll do here in a second, and they would need to push it out through something like Constant Contact or MailChimp, but we're going to help you get the data and extract it. So all I do is I come in and I grab that list of accounts that I want to target market, right, and focus in on our target, that audience that we're looking to reach out to. I'm going to go to my Actions button, and I'm going to do what's called a custom export. And so what all you're doing here is building an Excel document, right? Because if you've ever imported anything into Constant Contact, which is what we use at Accelerate, you basically need a primary contact's name, you need a primary contact's email address if you're going to do an email campaign, you're going to need address information if you're going to do a physical mailing campaign, and this is where you build that Excel document based on whatever it is you're going to do. Email campaign through Constant Contact, or you want to do a mailing campaign where you would export to Excel and do like a mail merge. But this is how you build what you need in order to execute that target campaign, right? So we've got that list of accounts. Now, one of the things that I'll share with you is that we've got a handful of dealers that I work with that are really, really good at making sure that their sales rep users of Accelerate are adding contacts, right? So in CRM, you can add contact information, different buyers, things of that nature. So when you've got this list of accounts, you guys, and you do an export, you really need to have someone to send that to, right? You want to make sure that it goes to the right person, that it's not Susie, the receptionist isn't going to just dump it in the trash. So one of the things I'll show you here in a second is how the dealer can actually add contact information in here. So that is how you can actually take the analytic information from the reports and the alerts and then pull that list in CRM, export it out, and basically put that campaign into play. And I can do the same thing over here with my selection lists. Remember how I built those 2 trend reports to say, hey, I've got customers who have bought my product? Great. We're going to pull that list. We're going to export that thing out. We're going to do a targeted marketing campaign to that specific group of customers. It's not difficult. You guys Can I see a nod? It's not that difficult. It's just we need to teach them how to do it. And I want you to understand what they can do. Because a lot of them probably say, I don't know what Accelerate can do for me. Now you've got a general idea of what the application can actually do for you and do for them, because it's all about wanting to sell more stuff, right? And making sure that we are targeting the correct audience, and we can absolutely help you with that. Inside of those account records, real quick here, I just want to show you, in case you run into a dealer, a larger dealer who maybe does have their sales reps on Accelerate and on the CRM. Again, we've got a handful of dealers that very effectively have utilized the contact feature in the CRM so that they, can do target campaigns to accounts because we need a person's name to tie to that, but they also will do target marketing campaigns to individual contacts or buyers, right? Because when you create these contacts for these customers, let me just pull one up. Of course, we always have the person's name. We need their email address, of course, if we're going to email to them, and their physical address down here. But over here on this extended tab, and this is what these dealers that I'm referring to who are having great success are utilizing, is this field right here. And this is a customizable field. This CRM is customizable by your dealers, where they can actually indicate what this person is responsible for purchasing. And it can be something as broad as janitorial supplies. It can be certain types of product that you're selling that you want to try and capture at the contact level and target market. But if the sales reps are capturing that contact information, what that allows you to do is to pull a list of contacts, right? So let's say you're out at a dealer and that you say, you know what, I'd love to do a targeted marketing campaign at the buyer level of a specific type of product. And if the sales reps are capturing that information, they can simply come here to this contact list view and they can say, I want to pull, for example, all of my contacts who purchase or have the product responsibility of janitorial supplies. Bam. There's your target list at the contact level. Does that make sense? But this is unlike the analytic information. The analytic information is there, so we can absolutely target at the account level. If you want to do targeted marketing at the contact level, they're going to need to get that information in there. But just wanted to throw that out there in case, again, if you're having conversations with these dealers, you know what all this can do and how other dealers are effectively using the CRM for their marketing campaigns. Okay? So I said I was going to try and keep this high level, so let's go back and do a little recap. Hold on, let me get back to this screen. Let's go. Oops. There was my favorite place, Aruba. Sorry. Let's recap what we just learned. We learned that we can run the trend report by account. We can include filters for you, right? The vendor, the manufacturer, prefix. We can drill into each account to see what categories of product their customer is buying. We can see items that their customers are buying of your product. We can run that enhanced business review to take a look at the relationship between you and the dealer, right? They can filter in that vendor code or that manufacturer prefix. We can create alerts where the dealer can identify for you their customers who are down in sales period over period, and we can market that, right? And then we also, of course, if the dealer can actually pull it off, I know it's a challenge with sales reps, is to build contact lists where we could do targeted marketing based on product responsibility and buyer level. So what do you guys think?
So let me jump in here.
Yep.
So let's have an honest conversation right now. The honest conversation is simple. Most of us sell office products in this room. Most of us are not selling Jansan, are not selling furniture, are not selling safety, and any other adjacency. Most of us go back to our offices and scratch our heads and wonder, how am I going to motivate the sales rep at ABC company to sell my products when he or she has been told they have to sell adjacencies? Well, what Stephanie just gave you was the keys to the car. So let me tell you a brief story. I represent Fellows in the West Coast. Fellows came out with, and I'll talk about storage since nobody else in here has storage boxes, so we can talk about a line that you don't compete with. Fellows last year challenged us to go call on a very specific vertical market. You may or may not know this, but every auto dealership in the country is required to keep their sales contracts when you purchase a car. That paper needs to be in hand for a period of time. That presents a real opportunity when you sell storage boxes. So what I did is we reached out to several dealers on the West Coast who we knew used Accelerate and asked them for two pieces of data. What auto dealerships do you sell to? And what are your storage box sales in those auto dealerships? Mm-hmm. And what we found was almost 50% of the dealers who sold to auto dealerships, almost 50% of those customers did not buy storage boxes from the dealer. So we put together a campaign, and that campaign was actually in 4 parts. What we wanted to do is break the ice about storage because we knew we had a constituency who needed storage boxes. And so we actually, using Constant Contact, blasted those users within those auto dealerships. Remember, if I buy from ABC Company and I log in, I now have that data. I now know who all my logins are for, the Chevrolet dealership. And so that went out for 2+ weeks. About every 3rd day we sent something. And then what we did is we took the top 20 dealerships, the big auto groups, and then made calls on those folks. So I'm happy to report that simple, easy campaign on auto dealerships created a 50% growth in those accounts, and we converted from the half of those dealers who were not buying storage to 98%. We lost one guy because he still wanted to buy from Costco. We lost one guy. So new sales dollars to the dealer, new gross profit all the way around. We happen to sell a system that, fellas, how long Stacks and Steel's been in the line? How many? 70 years. 70. We converted 3 auto dealerships to Stacks on Steel. We designed their whole outfit. So when you go back to your offices and you think about what I just learned on Accelerate from Stephanie and what you're going to hear from Chip and Dutch after we take a break, start to apply if you can. I'm not telling you what to do. You do what you want to do. But what I will do, is start to apply my manufacturer's products. If I sell traditional office products, if I sell filing, if I sell Post-it, if I sell insert product here, how am I going to leverage this with my dealer and help Chip and Wendy grow their business with my line? So there's no excuses. You do not have to go to product and tell them, man, if you don't come up with a bunch of new stuff, we're not going to survive. Now, that may still be the case. You have the keys to the car right now. And sorry, I don't mean to sound like I'm the teacher telling you what to do here, but I'm just telling you there is example after example after example of where this has worked. We're very lucky to have Chip and Dutch here to talk about those examples and how often they utilize Accelerate. Now, this was a brief overview. We challenged Stephanie to run through this, and I know it's hard. It's a system you don't use, and you will never use, but it is powerful. The data's there. All right, so I just spent 5 minutes yelling at you.
I do it all day.
Yeah, so poor Stephanie has to do this with the dealers all day long.
I do.
We have 10 minutes left. I believe we probably have some questions. Todd?
Stephanie, just thank you. First, ballpark, how many dealers are using Accelerate generally? And then how many of them are like premium users? Like, is it 50 dealers around the country? Because the place we might want to focus is us finding those 50, if we can work with them.
That's a really good question. There are hundreds of dealers that have Accelerate, right? And there's definitely a core group of those office products dealers that do utilize that on a consistent basis. And we can tell who those are, right? We've got data that shows that. But you've got dealers, and I think I shared with you that we proactively reach out to these dealers on a quarterly basis, and you just don't get feedback. I mean, I don't know that I don't have any numbers for you, but utilizing Accelerate on a consistent basis, I don't know. I don't know, Brian, what do you think?
There's a little over 1,400 dealers that have access to Accelerate today that they own, and I would say there's 500 that are using it, like power users.
And that may even be a little high. I mean, it's just...
The others all have access to it and probably look at it from time to time, but they all 14 have it.
Yep.
So even if you cut that list in half and say there's 250 power users, that's a plenty to do for us.
So who do you find in a dealership that's using it? Is it the marketing person? Is it the business owner? Maybe that's part of the struggle.
I think it depends on the dealer. If you have a large dealer, right, it probably isn't the owner. I think it might be a marketing person, or it might be a sales manager, right? But if you get into a smaller dealership, it's the owner, right? It's the guy who's running the show. Because again, there's lots of information that they can't get to behind the scenes in their ERP that's going to help them understand sales and margin trends, right? That's what Accelerate is also really good at doing.
Yeah, in the case that we're on the next session, of course, Dutch and Chip are owners.
Right.
And I will tell you, it's general. The Office City, who I'm pretty close to, Bill Jones is the guy.
Yep.
We all know Bruce Eaton. Bruce Eaton's the guy, believe it or not. And so I think it's, Jeffrey, it's a simple question. Who's using Accelerate? Who's the user here?
Yep.
Questions? Barry?
So can you just educate us, Stephanie, or maybe some of the dealers? If I'm a sales manager of a dealership, and you're all looking at key performance metrics, why aren't the salespeople embracing this as the most important tool in their bag? That's the mystery to me. And
I was going to say, I ask that question every day. I would have given my right arm to have this out in the field.
We have legacy salespeople who constantly believe that they can just go, yeah, I know that. And we call them out every single day. And we're at the point now, if they think that, we'll sweep an account. You don't think that account, you lost it? Well, you won't care. We're going to sweep it. You lost it. And why don't they do it? They think they know better. They're lazy. Right now, if somebody said, you know, Chip and Wendy, you've got a bucket of money, and you can, you know, do whatever you want with it, I would get a analytic marketing person before I'd get an outside salesperson.
I think that's telling, and I bet you would hear that across the country. I think what's important there is we're not working around the sales rep, Barry. What we're doing is we're taking control of our own destiny. The owner of their business, the owner of my business, which happens to be me, the owner of your business, that happens to be you. So what we're doing is we're actually talking kind of at a different level. The sales rep's going to win if we do our jobs right, because we've sold a bunch more product. And we've sold the product you want to sell. So there's no more excuses that you're not selling Talon tissue or hand sanitizer, because we just gave you the keys to the car. So just make it work for you in your application, because we all have one. We absolutely have one. Any more questions? Stephanie, thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure there's going to be further questions.